Right then peeps, I've been down the boat. I'm sure you all want to see it, but unfortunately you couldn't. I'm going to take this off. This is the, believe it or not, brand new starter motor. I'm sure it shows up in this light. It's only been on there 6 weeks, but once again the owner hasn't been down there clearing out the bilges, and it's come up to the starter motor. It still spins fine, but the Bendix is stuck. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to get myself a jar and some distilled vinegar and try the old YouTube staple of using vinegar to get rid of rust, because I want to free this off. Now I did spray the entire tin of lithium grease all over this before I put it in, so I put it in 2 months ago, and it's just washed off. Obviously river water takes off lithium grease really well, but I don't want to put rust converter on it, because then it will convert the rust and it just stays there and gets in the way and sticks things up. So I want to try and remove the rust. So what I'm going to try and do is stand this in there like so, and then I'm going to fill it up with vinegar, and I will come back to you in, let's say, 24 hours and see how it's done, and I'll let you know how I get on. There you go, brand new £110 starter motor. By the way, this isn't a marine starter motor. If he bought a marine starter motor, it would have had all stainless steel equipment on the end, but it was 250 quid. So he refused to buy it and wanted to buy a normal starter motor. So I acquiesced, went with his request. This is now his second starter motor in 6 months. This is why you buy marine grade starter motors. Right, anyway. 2-month-old starter motor. It's only turned the engine over about 10 times. What a waste. Anyway, I'll get back to you when I've actually, let's put this down here like so you can see. I shall undo this, like an unboxing video, but not. Oh. And I shall painstakingly over the course of the next 20 minutes squeeze all this bloody vinegar out. Wow. Oh, straight in the face. I've noticed before in my videos I'm a bit of a clumsy sod. If you haven't noticed, I certainly have. Right, so we're going to fill that up with distilled white vinegar. That's all it is. Tesco's distilled white vinegar. Other makes are available. And what we shall do is we shall keep an eye on that over the next 24 hours. And we'll see if it does anything. It's supposed to. According to Tinternet, but you know what the internet's like. Notoriously unreliable and full of bullshit. So we'll come back 24 hours, maybe 48 if I forget it's in here, and let you know. And if that doesn't work, apparently you can add some baking powder to it to make it work better. So if it hasn't worked after 24 hours, which to be honest, well, it's bubbling away, but who knows. I've used vinegar before for cleaning up old coins, like when I was metal detecting, which is why this channel's called Dirt Diggler, because I'm supposed to be a metal detecting channel. But there you go. There's the starter motor standing in a jar of distilled white vinegar, and we'll see how she goes. I'll get back to you in 24 hours, peeps. Ta-ra. Right then, so how did it do? Oh, you can still see it's still bubbling away. It's been 2 days because as usual things got in the way. If I can lift you up without wobbling about too much, and if you can see that water is decidedly browner, but is the Bendix any better? Well, let's have a look, I suppose. I can put you somewhere where you can see, because I haven't got a tripod. And let's have a look. How's that looking? Very black and not rusty. Not sure if you can see that well, but we'll give it a bit of a wipe off. still rust in some of the little crevices, and where there was rust it seems to have gone black, almost like when you coat a gun, bluing I think it's called, when they blue gunmetal. It's a chemical reaction that seals the surface of the metal apparently. Well, how does that look to you? Let's pick you up again. That looks a whole lot better to me. You can still see there's some rust down here in the teeth. Let's see if that brushes out, shall we? Yeah, it brushes out quite easily once you actually get in there, in between the springs. Yeah, certainly taken the rust off. Whether the Bendix has unseized itself is a different matter. I'm going to have to put you back down again and use both hands to... Right, the Bendix is still seized. Obviously it hasn't got... What happens is, you put the jump leads on, or you turn your key, this spins round, and as this spins round, this has got a spiral thread inside it, and it walks itself down the shaft and engages with your flywheel, which is back here. It's the opposite to the way starter motors work nowadays, where they're thrown forward into the flywheel. That's why I can't fit a later pre-engaged starter motor, because the teeth on the flywheel are angled a different way. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get into these little grooves with me brush, get some WD-40 on it. It's obviously, you can see quite clearly, it's cleared the rust off, it's worked. Looks quite good, but it obviously hasn't got inside, so I'm probably going to sit it in a jar like this. Instead of vinegar, I'm going to sit it in some ATF. You can see the jar there, that's where the rust's gone. So it's worked, it's slow. I mean, it's been 48 hours, but I suppose the good part of that is it's quite gentle on it. And as I said, I think in the first part of the video, I didn't want to use a rust converter, because a rust converter would convert the rust into something hard, which would gum up all the insides. I wanted to remove the rust to free up the insides. So anyway, that seems a lot cleaner than it was when it went in. In fact it is, but it's still seized up. So I'm going to have to get some oil in there, and that'll mean going into the garage, climbing into the back of the garage, finding the tin of oil, because I used the last tin of oil up I had in this shed, soaking this in silicone oil, which obviously doesn't stand up well to river water. So I'm going to go and find some WD-40 or some ATF, soak this in it, give it another 24 hours, and I'll get back to you then, and we'll see if we've saved this starter motor. See you later, peeps. Right, so with the aid of a good old screwdriver, I gave this a little prise, and as you can see, the Bendix is now free to spin down the shaft. This is called an inertia starter motor, or a Bendix starter motor. This is the Bendix. I don't know if that's a brand name or name of the company that invented it or whatever, but the whole point is it's an inertia starter motor. The weight of this, or its inertia, you have to overcome its inertia, which is its tendency, I believe, to stand still. Go and look at somebody who knows what they're talking about to find that out. But as this shaft spins, this wants to stay still, so it makes it walk down the shaft on that thread you can see in there, and that is what engages it with the flywheel. The flywheel's here. This walks down the shaft, gets to the bottom of its thread. Now it's locked to the shaft, so the shaft now turns this, and these teeth are engaged with the starter motor. So when you hear old cars and they go to start up and they just go woo, that's this sticking. That'll just be spinning with the shaft like this. I mean, obviously if I spin the shaft slowly like this, spin it from the other end, it moves with it. Obviously, you spin it at like 1500 RPM in that direction. Obviously, this will want to stay still, walk down the shaft on the thread, and engage with the starter motor, with the flywheel. So it turns that way really, really fast. I'll show you later with the jump leads. I'll get them out, and this will want to stay still, which will force it down the shaft. until it gets to the bottom. There's a little stop. Can you hear it? When it stops there, the shaft keeps turning, and that forces this to turn, which is now engaged with the flywheel and turns the flywheel. And when it stops, it should, there's a little spring inside that should, you can see it's just about starting to work. Got to clean them threads up. That should return it to the end of the shaft. And then you've got this spring here which absorbs the impact of it returning to the end of the shaft. But it's not working at the moment because it needs some lubrication in there, because the river water has washed out all that. I put an entire tin of silicone grease in there, which obviously didn't work, so I'm going to see if I can find some I don't know, marine grade grease, some wheel bearing grease maybe, lob that in there, and then that should be free, and you should be able to wind that out by hand, let go, and it should return all the way by itself. Which I say it's not doing at the moment, but I think that thread you can just about see in there needs cleaning up some more. So I'm going to give this another clean up, go and dig about in my garage to find my grease, grease it all up, find my jump leads, come back and I'll give you a demonstration of how it's supposed to work. I'll see you in a bit, peeps. Ta-ra. Right then, peeps, for the demonstration, as you can see there, I've got the starter motor, I've got an earth wired up to it, going up to this little AGM battery. I don't think it's an AGM, it's just a silver electric battery, it's from a disabled scooter. I've got a wire, a live wire, so I can spin it up and show you what's happening. I'll show you how this works. Now then, let's set the camera up so you can see, hopefully, the end of the starter motor, because I want to show you the Bendix bit flicking in and out, to give you some idea of how it works. Yeah, you see it flew back and it's still not quite returning. It's not returning at all, in fact. So I think I'm going to have to wind that down and stand it back in the old it's still a bit gritty. I've given it a good soaking of GT85, which has got a PTFE in it. I like this stuff, it's better than WD-40. This is actually a lubricant, whereas WD-40 isn't a lubricant, it's a water displacement, which is what the WD stands for, but people seem to be intrinsically brainwashed into using it. You see it flies out, so it will turn the engine over. Probably once the engine started spinning it will flick it back off, but it's not. There's a spring in there that should do that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind this up to there, and I'm going to, now I've got the threads exposed, I think I'm going to stand this back in the vinegar, which we know works. I'll stand it back in the vinegar for another 24 hours just to clean all the internals off in here. But well, at least you can see how an inertia or a Bendix starter motor works, or at least half works, because it turns over but it doesn't return. Anyway, I've saved that starter motor. I mean, I didn't think I wouldn't be able to save it. It's only 3 months old, but it just goes to show best laid plans of mice and men can be scuppered by an owner who doesn't go and turn on the bilge pumps on their boat often enough. So anyway, Das Boot part 3 over and done with, and maybe you've learnt something, even if it's just that I talk rubbish. I'll see you later, peeps. Ta-da.